What's up, everybody? Jimmy Faluca and Frank are back. Frank, you having fun?
Yes, sir.
Absolutely. How could we not? Now, ladies and gentlemen, Frank and I are going to be introducing a new part of our show, which is called Fantasy Booking. And the subject matter for this particular episode is going to be, and it was my idea, The Undertaker's retirement. Because because now this is assuming he has not officially retired yet. This is assuming that he has not had his last match. Both Frank and I have our ideas. Frank's going to go first, and then I'll critique his ideas, and then I'll go, and then Frank's going to do the same. And then you guys comment on whatever you guys think, or whether you agree, disagree, and you could leave comments on how you would like to see The Undertaker retire. So, Frank, you have the floor.
Well, I think maybe we might have seen him in his last match. This might have been his farewell. I still look back on that last match, and he just didn't look good. He looked a little slow, a little beat up, and then I hear he's still banged up from the match. He had a severe concussion. So I don't really know. Now that the streak was over, I think that was part of the streak.
Frank, you're a little broken up.
The whole equation of the streak ending. I think he just doesn't have any gas left. I just think he feels that's it. It's over.
So you think WrestleMania 30 was his last match?
Unless you never say never, but I think the next time we'll see him, maybe next year he gets inducted into the Hall of Fame, and maybe he makes a surprise appearance at WrestleMania 30 or 31. But I think maybe he might have maybe one match left, but
if you had the pencil in your hand, Frank, how would you do it?
Like I just said, I think maybe next year you induct him to the Hall of Fame. And then maybe you make him have a surprise appearance at WrestleMania 31, or just make him part of a cameo at WrestleMania 31. I don't know. I mean, unless they get Sting, I really want to see that match. But I really don't see who even left at this point for him to wrestle.
Well, if you have nothing more to add, to this, I'll just go with mine. And you tell me what you think. This is, if I had the pencil in my hand, and I had Undisputed say, this is, whatever you're putting down, this is what we're going with, this is what I would do. And I know you're going to think I'm crazy, but it is very doable. At SummerSlam, you have Brock Lesnar beat Daniel Bryan for the WWE World title. That's not too far-fetched. Brock Lesnar's lined up for a title shot. You have Brock Lesnar defend the title at Hell in a Cell against somebody. I really don't give a damn who it is. At the end of that match, Paul Heyman grabs a microphone, starts talking up Brock Lesnar, the Conqueror, the Beast Incarnate, Brock Lesnar celebrating with the titles, and then the gong goes off. The Undertaker appears on the stage. He walks down the aisle and slowly takes off his hat, his coat, his cape, whatever the hell it is that he's wearing. Or you could have him walk down in his street clothes. I really could care less. He gets in that ring and he pummels Brock Lesnar. Scares them off. Taker just stares him down, and that's how Hell in a Cell ends. The next night on Raw, to start the show, The Undertaker comes out and says these words: "For the first time in my life, I suffered defeat at WrestleMania. And I am here to tell you, I have no regrets." Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. He gives us some sort of a statement like that without death, there cannot be life, and the streak is no exception when it comes to death. And he turns around and he says, I would have been perfectly content receding into the dark side after being defeated at WrestleMania, but after hearing Paul Heyman and Brock Lesnar run their mouths about my defeat, I just couldn't sit back and allow that to continue. So he comes out and he challenges Brock Lesnar to a rematch at Survivor Series, where The Undertaker's career ironically began. Paul Heyman and Brock Lesnar come out. You know Brock's going to want to run down there and fight him, but Paul Heyman's being the dick manager heel. He's going to tell The Undertaker, Brock Lesnar has nothing to prove to you. Brock Lesnar beat you at your own game. And they finally friggin' pull the curtain back and say, not for nothing, Undertaker, but you've never beaten Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar's beaten you before. And then Paul Heyman can make the statement of, you couldn't beat Brock Lesnar if your career depended on it.
Right.
So then The Undertaker turns around and says, all right, Paul, I'm going to make you a deal. Give me the match with Brock Lesnar. If Brock Lesnar is able to defeat me, not only will Brock Lesnar have the bragging rights of saying that he ended the streak, but Brock Lesnar will also have the bragging rights of saying that he put me into retirement. So The Undertaker offers to wager his career in a rematch with Brock Lesnar because he so badly wants the fight. Paul Heyman, much like the fish that sees the worm in the ocean, grabs it and is hooked by the bait. Week after week. Who wins
in this? Who wins?
Let me get to it. Week after week, you have them showing video packages of The Undertaker's career, building up the fact that the end is near. Letting the fans know, much like Flair, when he was going to fight Shawn Michaels, they showed the video packages of his career, getting the fans ready for the inevitable. I promise you this, when this is all said and done, The Undertaker's career ends. The Undertaker comes out, I would say I would have the contract signing. I would save the contract signing the week before the pay-per-view. The Undertaker comes out, he signs the contract, Brock Lesnar signs the contract, and basically Brock Lesnar gets in The Undertaker's face and lets him know it's going to be an honor and a privilege to retire you. And then he just walks away, and The Undertaker's left. It looks very deflated. He puts his head down like he's starting to understand, okay, I may have just signed my death warrant. Everyone's preparing for The Undertaker's career to end at the hands of Brock Lesnar. That's not what happens. What you do is, The Undertaker goes over. He wins the title. The very next night, and the crowd will pop for that. The crowd will go absolutely nuts.
Of course, yeah.
The Undertaker comes out the very next night on Raw with the titles. At the end of Raw, you save it for the very end, and you promote it all night. The Undertaker's the new WWE World Heavyweight Champion. And you promote it throughout the entire night. The Undertaker, at the very end of Raw, comes out. No Paul Heyman, no Brock Lesnar. The Undertaker comes out. He looks at the crowd. No doubt they'll be chanting his name. He'll probably let it sink in because this is going to be a monumental moment for The Undertaker. The Undertaker picks up the microphone and he says, I'm finished. I came back to prove a point that my career and my legacy exists far beyond the streak. I beat the one demon that I never beat. I proved my point, and I'm going to go out the way I want to go out as the WWE World Heavyweight Champion. I gave you everything I had the last 20 plus years. I have nothing left in me. I'm getting emotional saying this because I could hear him saying this. It is time for me to recede into the dark side forever. The Undertaker could say in his own words that he appreciates the fans or whatever, because, don't forget, most Undertaker fans like myself have watched him for over 20 years. That's 20 years of loyalty. And don't you think that means a lot to The Undertaker to know that he's had people watching him for all these years and paid tickets? Because don't forget, when he was Mean Mark Callis, WCW told him no one would ever buy a ticket to see him wrestle. So The Undertaker proved The Undertaker proved a lot of people wrong when he metamorphosized into The Undertaker, and many people paid to see him.
That was thanks to Vince McMahon.
When the promo ends, The Undertaker lays the belts in the ring, he walks off to a beautiful send-off, and he leaves. And what happens is, the next week on Raw, Paul Heyman shows up, demanding that the Authority give Brock Lesnar the title back, blah, blah, blah. Stephanie and Triple H turn around and say, listen, this is the second time in 2 years that the title's been vacated. We have to make sure that this can't happen again. So we need some time to think about the situation for the WWE World title. So what happens is, at TLC, they announced that at TLC they're going to make their announcement and their decision on the title situation. At TLC, the Authority announces that for the first time in 22 years, the WWE World Heavyweight Championship will be on the line in the Royal Rumble match. So, At the 2015 Royal Rumble, the WWE World Heavyweight Championship is the prize to the winner.
And who wins that?
Honestly, I was up in the air with that, but I thought to myself, you could have any of the three members of the Shield win. I would keep Roman Reigns out of that situation. I would have Roman Reigns the next month at Elimination Chamber win the Chamber match to solidify a number one contendership for the title at WrestleMania, which he would end up winning. But as far as the Rumble, I would either have Dean Ambrose, Seth Rollins, or Bray Wyatt. One of those three guys. Because any of those three guys could play off as the villain, no problem.
That would set up the WrestleMania 31 main event.
WrestleMania 31 main event would be Roman Reigns, and if I had my pick, it would be Bray Wyatt.
What happens to Daniel Bryan?
What happens to Daniel Bryan? Honestly, I would try my ass off to get him in the ring with Shawn Michaels.
Yeah, but I don't know. Shawn Michaels, what are we talking about? Is this fantasy booking?
This is fantasy booking. Did you not pay attention to the title?
Yeah, no, I know. All I'm saying is just like what if, or what if?
This is if I had total say. If I had total say of this is how it's going to go, that's what I would do. And you have Daniel Bryan beat Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania. He beats his mentor. And I would have Roman Reigns beat Bray Wyatt for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. And what you also do is at Elimination Chamber, you announce The Undertaker to be inducted into the Hall of Fame.
Well, I agree with that, but
now,
yeah, I guess this is fantasy. But you know for sure that the Undertaker couldn't do this. He's not physically capable of doing this. This is fantasy, right?
Well, I think the Undertaker's got one more match in him, and I think that the Undertaker could. I believe in the Undertaker down to my bone marrow. If the Undertaker put it in his mind, I'm gonna have one more match, and think about it, his career ends the same place it started. And honestly, what I would do is, I would have The Undertaker wrestle that match at Survivor Series in a hybrid of his original attire. You know, the gray gloves, the gray boot covers. Have a variation of it to symbolize that it's the end.
And I like that.
Think about that. The Undertaker comes out in an attire similar to his original garb.
I like that. Bring back
the Undertaker wrestled his last match in a garb similar to what he wrestled in his first match. At the same event that he debuted at. And at the same event that he debuted at, he wins the title. One last time. He surrenders it the next night because he could turn around and say, I have too much respect for the title to not defend it regularly. I have nothing left in me. I am surrendering the title. I am retired. What better way for The Undertaker to go out? Is there a better way for The Undertaker to go out? I challenge anyone on our page to be serious and not be a troll and not just say something stupid, but actually come up with a better, because we got our fair share of trolls on our page. I challenge somebody to come up with a better way for The Undertaker to retire. Because to a nicer guy, that couldn't happen. The Undertaker's worked through so many injuries in his career. He's worked with so many talentless guys and made it work. If any guy deserved to go out as the champion, it's The Undertaker.
Well, listen, I like your ideas, but I think you got to make it a little bit more realistic because Lesnar only has a few contract appearances, and Undertaker can probably wrestle one more match. So I think you'd have to do it just one more match at WrestleMania.
No, The Undertaker doesn't belong wrestling at WrestleMania anymore. After the streak was broken, he doesn't belong there anymore. The only appearance The Undertaker should make at WrestleMania is when he gets inducted in the Hall of Fame. That's just my opinion. I feel.
Yeah, I agree with that. All right. I understand where you're coming from. No more streak, no more WrestleMania.
Exactly. I feel that he relinquished his role as the guardian of WrestleMania when he lost the streak. That's my opinion. As much as it makes me sick to say it, because I still believe it was the worst decision they ever made, as far as his character, because it doesn't help The Undertaker. The only way that the streak ending helps is if The Undertaker goes out in a big way, in a blaze of victory against the man that took the streak from him. That's my opinion. Even if it's not for the title. You could even make that the main event of Survivor Series. I don't think that that's the only time I think the title should take a backseat to a match, is if it's a retirement match. Like Shawn Michaels. When Shawn Michaels retired, the title didn't close WrestleMania, and that was the right thing to do. I personally think that Ric Flair and Shawn Michaels should have main evented WrestleMania 24. Because it was Ric Flair's retirement. And Ric Flair's one of the greatest professional wrestlers of all time. 16-time heavyweight champion. Leader of the Four Horsemen. He had a career that spanned over 4 decades. That's the only time I think the title should take a back seat. Not to some movie star that's just going to show up and have one match and then leave for 6, 7, 9 months. Like The Rock did. Not that I understand that most people say, oh, but John Cena versus The Rock was a bigger main event than CM Punk versus Chris Jericho. Yes, I understand that, because that's the way it was booked. If they booked CM Punk versus Chris Jericho better, that could have been on par, but they didn't. They put more attention on John Cena versus The Rock because it was a money match. But anyways, not to get off topic, even if The Undertaker wrestled Brock Lesnar one last time and the title is not even at stake, I just put the title in there because it'll get everything out of the way. Brock Lesnar will get his title reign. The Undertaker will get retribution on the guy that beat the streak. And also think of it from this perspective. Whoever wins the Royal Rumble and wins the title at the Royal Rumble will be immediately elevated, because look at the guys you've had as the WWE World Heavyweight Champion. You've had Daniel Bryan, Randy Orton, Brock Lesnar, and The Undertaker. That's a Hall of Fame list of guys that have been WWE World Heavyweight Champion. Because whether anyone likes it or not, Randy Orton's going in the Hall of Fame. And as far as Daniel Bryan goes, they inducted Coco Beware. Daniel Bryan's going in. I'm not even worried about that. And as far as Brock Lesnar and The Undertaker goes, Brock Lesnar will be inducted. There's no question about it. And as far as The Undertaker goes, The Undertaker, as Paul Heyman said on the WrestleMania Fallout, should have his own fucking wing in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I think he'll get inducted maybe this year. If not this year, next year.
Let me tell you something. The Undertaker should close the Hall of Fame when he gets inducted. No one should be allowed to follow him. I'm sorry. I respect the Macho Man. I respect The Rock as much as I don't like him. But nobody should be allowed to follow The Undertaker at the Hall of Fame. Guys like The Rock, guys like Macho Man, guys like The Undertaker, Shawn Michaels. Well, Shawn Michaels is already inducted. Triple H, Kurt Angle. These are guys that should be closing the Hall of Fame. Tell me if you disagree.
What do you mean? Like nobody else comes? Could allowed to join the Hall of Fame anymore?
No. What I'm saying is when those gentlemen get inducted, they should be the last person on that card.
Oh, of course.
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying that for that evening, they're the last person. They're the main attraction.
Of course.
Like, I'm saying that The Undertaker, when he gets inducted into the Hall of Fame, whatever year it is, no guy should be allowed to follow him on that card.
Yeah, of course.
That's what I'm saying.
If I was getting inducted, I wouldn't want to be on the same ballot as The Undertaker, because he's going to overshadow everybody.
That's what I'm saying. And can you imagine what that speech is going to be like? Let's elaborate on that. Can you imagine the stories The Undertaker's going to have?
Well, he'll do it out of character, which he's been known never to be out of character. So
no, of course. And let me tell you something. He's probably the last person to ever not break kayfabe as a character on television, and I respect him for that. I've heard so many stories on the radio from Steve Austin and Chris Jericho about how cool The Undertaker is backstage, on how he was always, smooth with all the guys, and how he was always very respectful of everyone, and how even Paul Heyman. I've heard Paul Heyman say many times that when The Undertaker retires, I know the fans will miss him, but the locker room's going to miss him even more.
Of course, he's a leader. He's a leader.
And, it sucks to see people that you idolize get old.
Well, Jimmy, you got to let him. Nobody could ever beat Father Time,
No, of course not. Father Time is somebody that none of us can beat. Trust me, I know about that. But, The Undertaker has been, my childhood hero since he's one of my first real memories as a kid. I remember vividly, Frank. My dad took me to a wrestling show. It was a WWF show. It was at MSG. My dad used to do security for the handicapped kids because he was a sanitation worker, right? And my dad told me, "You're gonna have fun, trust me." And my grandfather was there with me. My grandfather that passed away, he came to watch me because my dad was helping the handicapped kids get in. The lights went out, and I saw him in his gray garb walk out to the ring. He cut.
This is 1994. Is that what you're talking about?
No, this was 93.
93.
This was 93. I remember it vividly. The Undertaker cut a promo in the ring. He left. And as he was walking back, some of the kids were reaching out to him. And he shook a couple of their hands, and I reached my hand out, and he shook my hand. And I could tell you from that point forward, I never missed a Raw. Never missed a single match that he did. But the first pay-per-view that I remember vividly was Buried Alive with Mankind.
And Undertaker versus Mankind?
Yes, the Buried Alive match. And I remember watching him get buried, and I remember seeing all the bad guys come out, and Paul Bear was cackling, and Mankind was, squealing like a pig. Terry Gordy was under the executioner's mask, and there was a gentleman out there by the name of Hunter Hearst Helmsley, and a gentleman by the name of Justin Hawk Bradshaw. Any of those names ring a bell?
Yeah, JBL and Triple H.
And when I saw the Undertaker's hand come out of that grave, I'm getting chills right now because that's the moment that I became the diehard fan that I am. Without seeing that, and I'm pointing to the Wall of Fame right now, this probably wouldn't exist. All of this that I love so very much, this wonderful business that has been a part of my life for a long time. I've critiqued it. I've complained about it. I have, talked about how great it is. Without seeing the Undertaker's hand come out of that grave, I'm not the wrestling fan that I am. So I'm meeting Mick Foley this Saturday, and I've had a couple of people convince me to try to.
Where's this? Where is this?
This is in New Jersey. It's at the Crown Plaza. There's a convention there every year. I went last year and I met Sting.
Come on, you gotta give a cheap plug like Mick Foley.
Oh yeah, hang on one second. I'm actually going to pull up that information right now. Stay right there, guys. It's called if you go to legendsofthering.com, that is where you could see all the information. It's on Saturday, June 7th at the Crown Plaza, Monroe, New Jersey. The doors open at 8:30. It's $20 admission just to get in. Now, I found out about this too late because I completely forgot about it because I've been so busy. The people that are going to be there on the Super Card, which is the main card, is, I'll actually pull up the list right now, is Lita, Trish Stratus, Scott Hall, Jerry Lawler, Rick Martel, Nikolai Volkov, and I heard Booker T's going to be there as well. And
what are they going to do? They're going to do autograph signings?
Yeah, it's basically a fan festival.
Oh, okay.
And as far as there's extra guests there, like vendor guests, where they have their tables there, and you meet them. Oh, and Arn Anderson's going to be there as well.
They're all going to be selling tickets.
Yeah. They're going to be selling tickets there at the door. Now the tickets that you could buy when you get there are from Mick Foley, Sean Waltman, Nikolai Volkov, Abyss, Scott Norton. The fake Sting is going to be there. Tatanka, Al Snow, Rhino, Zach Gowen, Sonny.
The fake Sting?
Yeah, the fake Sting.
Who is the fake Sting anyway?
The fake Sting, I know his name is here, is Jeff Farmer.
Oh, okay, but
he was the NWO Sting. Jimmy Snuka.
I know the fake Sting. Oh,
Jimmy Snuka is going to be there. Nunzio is going to be there, and the Hurricane is going to be there, along with Colt Cabana. I'm so tempted to go to Colt Cabana and say, "Yay, is Punk still as miserable as he was before?"
You should bring the camera and interview one of these guys.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Well, did you say you were going to ask Mick Foley a question? You were going to ask Mick Foley a couple of questions?
Well, I've had a couple of my friends convince me, because years ago I wrote a letter to The Undertaker that I was going to give him last year when I was supposed to go to Access to meet him, but unfortunately, circumstances beyond my control prevented that. I've had a couple of people convince me to ask Mick Foley to forward my letter to him, because My mindset, Frank, is now that the Ultimate Warrior passed away unexpectedly, I don't know what's going to happen in life. And I don't want to have the regret that I didn't try to reach out to The Undertaker.
Right,
Not
right,
that I
right.
expect a response, nor do I want a response. I really don't. Because I've heard, when you meet your heroes or you hear from them, you regret it later on. And I
Like
know
that.
and I know that probably I'm going to get a lot of, laughs for this, but I just want The Undertaker to know I exist. So, I'm going to ask
No,
Mick.
no, listen, he did it. I mean, if you think you're the number one fan, I mean, I know a guy on my block. He was the Macho Man's number one fan. He would meet him regularly, and they would post together. And he was actually known by Randy Savage as his number one fan. That's how he would sign his
Well,
autograph.
well, let me tell you something. If I ever had the honor and the privilege to stand in the same room as The Undertaker, I don't know what I would say to him. I really don't know. I don't know if I would be able to. I know it sounds silly, but, I'm putting my tattoo on camera. I friggin' worship the ground the guy walks on. That guy was it to me. He's my idol. He's everything that I always wanted to be. His character taught me so much that I think a lot of people didn't understand. A lot of people didn't see those little things that he did. Standing on his own. He very rarely had a partner with him. He always fought his own battles all by himself. He took more punishment than anyone could dish out. He always sat up regardless of what was done to him. Now I get that he was playing a character, but it was what that character did that spoke volumes to me. And regardless of all the injuries that he suffered, the crushed orbital bones, the broken ribs, the torn triceps, the torn rotator cuffs, the groin injuries, anytime he had to rehabilitate and come back, he came back and was like he never missed a beat. And
So, say it in a couple words. Like, what was it about the Undertaker's character mystique that hooked you? Like his resiliency, that he always kept coming back.
it was the fact that the Macho Man put it the best way that I've ever heard it put. The Undertaker is a man that surrounds himself with all darkness but sheds so much light in people all over the world.
That's cool.
Uh, the Macho Man came up with that line on the fly. And that was from WrestleMania 9 when he fought Giant Gonzalez. And, I did not put a return address in the letter. And I'm continually being told to do so.
You should at least put an email on it.
I'm rethinking whether or not I should even try giving Foley the letter. I don't want to make him feel like I'm disrespecting him.
No, maybe you should ask him. Maybe you should ask him how to send him, how to get him, how to do it so he would get it. Like, what's the best? What would be the best way to do it?
Because what I was going to do is I was going to ask Mick. I was going to say, I don't wish to disrespect you, but I need to ask you if there is something you could do for me. I was going to.
No, I don't think you should do that. That's a little. I think you just ask him the best course of action to take. If he would know the best course of action to take.
All right.
Yeah, because it's not that you're disrespecting him. It's like it's like you're giving him a job to do. Like you don't know if they talk. Him and Undertaker talk.
No, of course not. No, of course not. I'm just trying to think of the best way to get the letter to him.
Yeah, and if you ask him to pass the letter, he'll probably just tell you. What he'll probably answer the question that I'm. You should ask him anyway. How to do it. You understand what I'm saying?
No, absolutely, absolutely. I appreciate you giving me your counsel.
Yeah. Maybe he'll tell you to send it to WWE offices or something like that.
I appreciate the honesty because I'm telling you,
what you should do is ask Mick Foley like a couple of cool questions about his career.
Obviously, no. Listen, I'm going to see Mick Foley to meet Mick Foley, and at the end, I figured I would ask him. Listen, I would like to send this to somebody. What's the best way to do it? Because I don't want to have the regret that I never reached out to the guy. Because, listen, did any of us expect the Ultimate Warrior to pass away? When he did?
Well, yeah, anything could happen. You're right. That's life. Anything could happen. But, yeah.
That's what I'm saying, because I don't want something to happen. Not that I'm predicting something terrible to happen to The Undertaker, but I don't want something to happen to him, and I didn't, and I have that in the back of my head. I never even tried to reach out to the guy.
Right.
I'm glad this is all being caught on camera so everybody can see the depths of my fandom when it comes to him. I have no shame when it comes to The Undertaker, Frank. That guy to me is it. No one could ever top him. And as far as I'm concerned, he's the greatest. Like Jim Cornette said it. Jim Ross has said it. Paul Bear said it. The greatest character, greatest gimmick in the history of the business, hands down.
And again, who would have thought that? You know, when if you would have said put some guy in a goofy Undertaker funeral costume, and you know, and he never gets hurt, he gets the rack. You think this guy is so cartoonish.
And if they introduced that gimmick in 2014, it wouldn't have worked. It fit the time frame. It got over organically because he was being portrayed as a bad guy, and the fans cheered him.
Right. I mean, I'm not saying it's like it's a character like the Zombie or.
No, I know what you're saying. I know exactly what you're saying. Who would have known how amazing that gimmick would have become?
That's why Vince McMahon knows what he's doing. You know, you throw 10 characters out there, one or two of them are going to become great and stick around. You know.
Yeah, and boy did he become something else. Well, yeah. Unless Frank has a subject that he would like to touch on, I think that does it for us tonight, guys.
No, I'm done. Oh, that's cool. We'll talk again next time.
Yeah, absolutely. Frank and I will try to have another episode up following. Maybe we'll get a video before Money in the Bank to give our predictions once we have a full card to talk about. Frank, what do you think? Is that good?
Yeah, definitely.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, for Frank, myself. Take care.